And let's start with Roma and Milan. It was Mourinho lining up with his typical 3-4-2-1. Some will call it a 3-5-2. I think it was a 3-4-2-1. Patricio in goal, Mancini, Smalling, Llorente, Celik and Zalewski as the wingbacks, Paredes and Cristante in front of the back three, and then it was El Shaarawy, Aouar, and Belotti. Milan coming out with Maignan, the 4-3-3 that they've been starting to play, Calabria, Chow, Tomori, Hernandez, and then you've got Krunic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Tierney Reinders, and then you had Leao, Giroud, and Pulisic. So Pioli continues to start the same 11. But let's. This game happened on Friday. Everybody that's in this chat that's listening, everybody that saw the show saw it. Milan win. They win 2-1. They get a penalty in the 9th minute, scored by Olivier Giroud. It was a penalty, guys. I mean, the only people that were upset about it were Roma fans. Loftus, you could have almost argued that was a clear goal-scoring opportunity because once he got through Rui Patricio until Rui Patricio tripped Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So they go up 1-0, and then in the second half, just 3 minutes in, Rafael Leao scores from sea level. A goal of the week candidate there to put the Rossoneri up 2-0. Clearly, if we had a 1 week crap on a cracker, this guy's the captain, Fik Tomori.
Yeah.
With just another boneheaded challenge on Andrea Belotti. 1 yellow plus 2 yellows equals a red. And I'll come back to that in a minute. Milan had to regroup, get down to 10 men. And it was in stoppage time. Spinazzola with a goal that ended up being deflected, but it's a goal that's credited to Spinazzola, making it 2-1. Made it a little bit interesting, but in the end, Milan hold on, win their third in a row. Let's talk about it from the Milan perspective because it's a Jekyll and Hyde type of situation with them.
Yeah.
Completely dominant for the first 60 to 70 minutes. The red card happens. They have to regroup. One of the notes that I mentioned, and we talked about this, is that, okay, they have to now defend. Roma's going to have the ball for larger periods of time. And I like what Pioli did with the substitutions. He went with, he brought Leao out of the game, brought Pulisic out of the game, brought Giroud out of the game, had to bring in an extra midfielder, so Popega comes on. But he goes with Okafor and Chukwueze, who have pace and are guys you can counter to that can run at. And we talked about this going in. If you could isolate these Roma defenders in 1v1 situations, they're weak in those situations, especially Smalling, who has gotten smoked a couple times coming in. So I liked how Pioli said, all right, I can take my chances defending with 7. I got a 2-goal lead, but if you guys slip up, we're countering and we're getting behind you with these guys. So I guess we can start with Pioli's performance in terms of managing this match overall. Came through in a big game, and I thought he got just about everything right in how he set his Milan up to win this game.
Yeah, he even shushed Mourinho during the game as well. I think Pioli deserves a lot of credit. He tinkered a little bit with the formation. I've seen what he did in this game before. A little bit this early in the preseason. I saw a little bit at the end of last year, but brief moments, not like we've seen a little bit more stable this year where Teo and Calabria come in the middle of the midfield, and you see Krunic dropped in between Tomori and Chow. So like a new back three with Teo Hernandez and Calabria, a little bit more freedom in the middle, which has been an interesting wrinkle because as Pioli understood from last year, the midfield tends to win the game. And if you can control the midfield, that's how you win the game. And I thought Pioli did a wonderful job. Milan did a wonderful job, completely dominant. Mostly, you got to give credit to Pioli for getting his guys ready and set up for the play. He understood where Roma were going to be weak, where they're going to go for the attack, and he shut them down. He went for the attack. Milan, we'll compare this to the Napoli Lazio game later, but I thought Milan did very well, created a lot of opportunities, and really, I don't think. Well, one, Roma had no opportunities on target in the first half. And really, it's a tale of two games, right? The first 60, 70 minutes, Milan were completely dominant. I mean, they were playing them off the park. Straight 2-goal lead, could have been 3. Once that red card happened, it was a little bit more of an even game. Yes, Roma had possessions of the ball, but I think, again, to your point, Pioli really with the great substitutions. The one thing I will yell at him about is, and I think Bonetti may have brought this up on the podcast, on the telecast, was that you guys on the yellow take him out earlier, put on Kalulu, right? I mean, they did that. He did that. I don't know, last week or the week before, where Chow had a yellow card and he took him off early. So he should have done the same thing with Tomori here. But other than that, I thought the substitutions were great. Good to
Yeah.
see Kalulu in there. He's going to get now opportunity in the Derby della Madonnina. So well done by Pioli and company to kind of get the job done. And yeah, it was shaky at the end, and it should be because Roma's with the advantage there. Lukaku looks like he will be something special for them, potentially this year. So yeah, well done by Milan and Pioli.
What's aggravating about this red card, the 2 yellows, both fouls didn't need to happen. Both were in situations where Belotti had the ball. Yes. Was Belotti a danger? Absolutely not. Back was to the goal. Back was to where he could be dangerous. And Tomori fouled him both times anyway and got booked both times. I mean, it's just clumsy defending from him. I think where Milan fans have been critical over the past several months with him is that it's not in his tackling or his late tackling or his fouling. It's his positioning and intending to get lost sometimes. I don't think the positioning was such an issue in this game as much as just the overall lack of patience in terms of dealing with a striker like Andrea Belotti. He's not going to get past you, so there's, in both moments, there's just no need to foul him.
And I think it's about timing because when Tomori was excellent for Milan, he was always aggressive. Even when he had a yellow, he was always aggressive, but he would just make the tackles. He would get the ball. And now his timing is off for whatever reason. And if you're not going to get there on time, you have to be smart about it, especially when you're already on a yellow card. I mean, where he fouled Belotti was way out of the area. Belotti had his back to goal, going the opposite direction. There's no point in fouling him there.
No.
So you got to think about these things because we know when you play in a game that really where it matters, where it comes down the line, or it's a big derby game, or it's Champions League, it's make or break for your team there. And I think Tomori needs to do better than that. And if he doesn't, he'll find himself on the bench because I think Pierre Kalulu is more than capable of playing as a center back. And Kiar as well, even though Kiar, I think, is on his last legs. I think Kalulu certainly showed that he's very versatile, can play pretty much anywhere in the back line or anywhere in the midfield, really. So, yeah, Tomori's got to have to clean up the mental game, I think, and work on his timing because that was really the big difference between when he was doing well versus now.
Yeah. I thought Kalulu was composed for the role that he had to play when he came in. Thiaw moves over to the left of that center back pairing because he's naturally left-footed. So there's, so you can have that, you can kind of have that going on. And then let's come back to how he's got his fullbacks now playing a little narrower, and then Teo is still going to run at you wide in a lot of situations and stuff like that. The other reason why I like that, and then Krunic, kind of playing as part of a back three and kind of being, it creates function within the midfield and it makes the midfield far more unpredictable. You've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek who can just charge from box to box, and right now is playing really, really good. He looks reborn, through these first 3 games. And then you've got Reinders, who's kind of he's the technician of the 3. Yeah. He sees it, he passes, he helps his team keep the ball. I made these comments before the season when I looked at Reinders and when I looked at a lot of his tape. He's not going to play the low percentage pass. He doesn't take the unnecessary risks. He helps you keep it. And then he gets himself into advanced positions from there too. So it suits their characteristics. And Pulisic obviously has been very good on the right. And then you get Leao into it. I mean, Leao just completely made Mancini look foolish on that side multiple times.
He's playing world-class level at the moment.
Yep, over the course of that game. So, overall, good performance from Milan and a good win. And an important win. You get Roma away and in a situation where you've got to find a way to win. You get a player sent off, you're down to 10. You've got to close the game off, and I thought that Pioli made the right decisions in terms of doing that. Now, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. The Roma that Mourinho put out was basically Mourinho's hand is forced because he doesn't have all of the players at his disposal that he wants. He's got injuries, Dybala chief among them. Pellegrini can't give you 90 minutes yet. So this becomes a very predictable Roma side where it's going to come to Belotti, and you're hoping that El Shaarawy can get through. Otherwise, you're going to need to get it out of the wingbacks. But there wasn't really anywhere for Roma to go. And when Roma got the ball, there wasn't, there's Belotti getting the ball and holding it, but I didn't see a lot of El Shaarawy going out and running in front of him and getting into dangerous positions, or Alwar when he was in and then he got hurt. And then when it comes back to Pellegrini, well, Pellegrini's just sitting in a midfield position behind the striker. It's not his game to go running in front of the striker and getting his job is to pick out El Shaarawy. Well, when that happens, all right, we're going to come back to Pellegrini, and as a defense, we'll just drop off because El Shaarawy's running or Zalewski's running or Celik is running, and we can just deal with that as they come in, and we'll be able to see it, win it, and go the other way. So I will say, while it's an impressive win when you just look at it in terms of the overall fixture, when you peel the onion a little bit, you look at it and say, this isn't the Roma that we're going to have once all of the parts are ready to go. So in the end, you're just going to say Milan should win this game, and it's a good thing that they did.
Yeah, and you even kind of said so in the last podcast. You're like, there's no way really that Roma should win this game based on the way these two teams are playing at the moment. I think the way Mourinho lined up his team, well, like you said, this is what he had to go with. And I was surprised. I was expecting, we know Mourinho likes to counter and gives other team possession, but I fully expected he would try to counter what Milan's special attack strengths are by keeping the ball a little bit more, making it more closer to 50-50. And Milan had something like 70% possession in the first 7 minutes of the game. It wasn't even close, honestly. And the times when they did have possession, Milan were quick to close them down. I thought, Celik was pretty bad. I thought in this game overall. Alwar, I know I think he picked up an injury that he had to come off early and Pellegrini came on. But yeah, really, it was like nothing for Roma. There's no substance. They really created nothing for the majority of the game, honestly. And it wasn't until you saw Big Rom get into the game where it kind of found an identity. And he kind of did his thing, was a bull in China shop, so holding up the play and sending up guys. That's when you really started seeing what Roma potentially could be. And, Zalewski, whether Zalewski or Spinazzola on the left, they got some, flexibility there. But like you said, this isn't by any stretch what the Roma we're going to see as the season progresses on, especially when number 21 gets back into the lineup. He is their, world-class talent that they have on their team. And so seeing him with, mixing up with Belotti and Lukaku should be a very entertaining team to watch going forward. Defensively, they got some things they need to work on, especially, Smalling is getting beat for pace lately. It seems like more and more every game. So, and Rui Patricio is another guy. I mean, there really is no option for them at this point. But Mourinho likes Rui Patricio, his countryman for whatever reason. But he's not getting the job done either. And so, Roma just have to, script this as a loss and move on forward and just work on the next game because, you dwell on this too much, you're going to get really back behind in the table, and you don't want to at this point. So just, chalk this up loss. You have injuries. Mourinho's going to make the excuse anyway, as he should. And move forward. I think Milan. I was more impressed by Milan's performance than I was disappointed at how Roma played.
How bad is Evan Ndika that he can't get into this team? That it keeps being Mancini, Smalley, and Llorente, across the back. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it's more about position and trying to get him familiarized with what Mourinho wants. I don't know. It's
probably it.
Perplexing to me. It's perplexing to me.
Well, I mean, if he plays, he's pretty much a vice Mancini in the back three. He plays on the right hand side of the back three, and you're not taking Mancini out. I mean, at some point, Mourinho, if the best, because what Ndika has at least is he has recovery pace that maybe Smalling doesn't have anymore, and you might see Mancini get moved into the middle, Smalling gets sacrificed, and Ndika playing on the right. We'll have to see. I mean, that's one thing. Dybala. Lukaku getting more acclimated. Lukaku looked motivated. That there were moments with him. He looked like Conte's Lukaku out there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm not afraid to say that from what I watched. That was that. You know, that's the impact that I thought that he had. And yeah, Milan had 10 players, but he wanted the ball. He demanded it. He demanded players moving to. He can set them up. He, you know, in creating things. So that was the Conte Lukaku we watched out there. And if that's any indication, then Roma's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
once they get him further integrated into the team, and my predictions are going to suggest that too.
And
So,
I think more of Spinazzola, more of Bove, more of Pellegrini on top of Dybala,
mhm.
Lukaku coming on will do world of wonders for Roma going forward. And
Yep,
I think they will be fine. It's just going to take some time to get their pieces back together,
yeah,
basically.
yep. And just as long as Mourinho doesn't piss everybody off over there, so
Yeah.
because there is something about his, him wearing out his welcome after a third season.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and Ollie makes a good point. Milan were just lucky that they played Roma early. That's very possible. They caught Roma at a good time.
Yeah.
So that can be said, and we did talk about that a little bit. I mean, Milan gifted Roma into the game. I mean, the Tomori red card, but I mean, even Giroud's foul before halftime.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of you ever seen it's an old video from old English football from the 90s. I think it might have been 90s or late 80s or something like that. It's an old English comedian by the name of Danny Baker. He had a thing called Own Goals and Gaffes. And
Oh,
it's just it's a tape full of own goals and silly mistakes that are where it's all comedy and that sort of thing. And I'm just reminded of a segment of a clip that he showed where a number 9 from the other team tried to come all the way back to help his team defend, and he gave up a penalty. And it's like the rest of his team were looking at it and said, "What are you doing back here? Go away!" you know. It just kind of reminded me of that when Giroud committed that stupid foul, and I think he committed it on Pellegrini. It's just like,
yeah.
everybody's compact. They're waiting for Pellegrini. What are you doing coming back and fouling him and letting him just have a free kick and having him a chance to regroup? It just is like there were enough mental errors that a 100% Roma might have done something with this game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's the one thing. If we're going to play devil's advocate about Milan's performance, we really need to pay attention to that. We can sit here as Milan fans and smile all we want about being played 3, 1, 3, 9 points, and all of this other stuff, and perfect 100% record going into the derby against Inter, who has a 100% record. But we got to really look at the reality, and that is, a full strength Roma, and this might be a different story.